Well, there's been plenty of reaction to Macron's comments today. Poland, Germany and the Czech Republic all saying they are not considering sending troops for the moment. A similar message as well from NATO. Our foreign editor, Philip Turle, with me to discuss. So, Philip, this idea seems rather unpopular for the moment. Did Emmanuel Macron jump the gun here?
I think what we're talking about here is something that was totally unexpected. Amongst those listening. It wasn't on the agenda at this meeting yesterday, this meeting to bring support to Ukraine. And it was Emmanuel Macron answering a question from a journalist thrown to him in the room where the question was asked, well, what would happen if troops were sent in, or should troops be sent in to help the Ukrainians? And that was the answer he gave. So I think there are two ways of looking at this. The first one is that Emmanuel Macron was caught off balance and he came out with that reply without consulting with anybody. It wasn't on the agenda, as I said, and therefore everyone was taken aback that the French president would say this without actually consulting not only with the European allies but also with NATO and with the Ukrainians beforehand. The second point is that I think that you can look at it from another way round, and that is that Emmanuel Macron didn't just say this on the spur of the moment. This wasn't a comment that he just came up with without thinking about it beforehand. There are three reasons that he might have made this comment. The first one is that he wants to put pressure on his other allies within the European Union and within Europe to make sure that they understand that Russia has become a lot harder in recent weeks. Therefore, France is also upping the ante. Remember that Emmanuel Macron, right back at the start of this war in Ukraine, was saying things like, well, you shouldn't ruffle Russia's feathers, you shouldn't humiliate Vladimir Putin. We've seen a complete U-turn on that position now. France has become much more vociferous, outspoken, disagreeable and violent towards the Russians, saying that for the first time, the comments yesterday, Russia must not win this war. We haven't heard Emmanuel Macron actually say that so far. Second point is that he wants to take the leadership within Europe as the leader of the front against Russia, and that explains this comment. And the third point is to put pressure on the Americans. The Americans, where there's this big discussion over the $60 billion worth of aid that's stuck in Congress that can't be voted on to go to Ukraine because of the row with the Republicans. So I think those three items together also explain why Emmanuel Macron made this comment.
Do you think it would actually happen, though? Would we see troops on the ground in Ukraine?
Well, that's the big question that no one can answer right now. I don't think so. I don't think anytime soon. As you were saying before, we've had all these reactions today from Germany, from the United Kingdom, from the Czech Republic, from Spain, from even NATO itself saying, well, this isn't going to happen anytime soon. And I think that is probably true, because if these troops were to go to Ukraine, that would certainly show that this conflict had moved into another sphere, into a much more dangerous situation where, as Russia has saying today, this is not in the interest of anybody. This would pit basically the Russians, Moscow, against NATO for the first time, and that would put the war and the world in a very difficult situation. We don't know right now what kind of troop movement we're talking about here. What exactly did Emmanuel Macron mean? Does he mean we're sending troops in there to fight alongside the Ukrainians against the Russians? Will they be on the front line, or will the troops just be going there in a supporting role to help keep the vehicles going, to bring in the missiles, to act as a humanitarian support to the Ukrainian forces, but won't actually be on the front line? All of those questions for the moment we don't know the answer to. So I think we have to be taking this with an awful lot of caution right now, Nadia, in deciding whether or not Emmanuel Macron is being gung-ho, whether or not this is on the spur of the cusp. This has led to a huge fallout here in France from all the other political parties, be it Marine Le Pen and the National Rally in the far left, France Unbowed Party and the Socialist Party. They've all condemned what Emmanuel Macron has said, even though the Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, has said, well, troops could be sent to Ukraine if necessary, but of course it's nothing that's going to happen right now. There's one other thing that I think could also be the reason for this is that Emmanuel Macron has his eyes on the European elections coming up in June. He knows that he's not doing well in the opinion polls here in France, face-to-face with Marine Le Pen and the National Rally. This is a way of saying to them, look, we know that you are secretly supporting Vladimir Putin or have sympathies towards the Russians. This is a way of putting you on the spot by saying, OK, face-to-face with sending troops to Ukraine, what are you going to do if there's a debate in Parliament and we have a vote on this? And I think that is something that we're going to see probably happening in the next few days or so.